your indoctrinated beliefs or your beliefs that you have put on a pedestal that you refuse to question. The first theme, the first 10 days of part two, was spent on forgiveness. And forgiveness, according to the Course in Miracles, was uh, when we have an unforgiving mind, what we are doing is we have certain beliefs that we refuse to question, that we refuse to look at and examine and see if they're really still true in our own mind. Do we really uh, find that that is true? So the first lesson was the idea of forgiveness. And in this case, what we really focused on was not necessarily forgiving our world, but forgiving our own beliefs about ourself and about our need to suffer or our need that we were a sinner and therefore we had to do some type of penance, or we as a individuated aspect of itself had somehow lost paradise and therefore had to earn redemption or had to come up with some plan to recover what we perceived to be lost. And it was giving ourselves permission to say that even though we believed that in the past, we don't have to continue to believe that in the present and the future. And therefore, we can free ourselves from the belief that the present is a product of the past, that we can actually release the past from any control that it has about us. We do that through forgiveness. And forgiveness is really the realization that everything that unfolded in the past was kind of the perfect journey, what we needed, the perfect learning lessons, so that we could get to the point where we could free ourselves from those past erroneous beliefs about ourselves. This theme is about salvation. And again, salvation is defined very differently than what the common definition is. Salvation, according to the Course in Miracles, is the promise of God, our sole creator, that we're all going to make it, that we don't have to worry, that we don't have to do anything, that our divine birthright and our divine inheritance could never be lost and therefore could never be earned or required that you do anything except accept the truth of what you really are, which is a chip off the block of unconditional love, because that is what God is. In salvation, what we're really going to be doing, we're going to see that the next 10 lessons are all focused on our relationship really to our Creator. When you perceive yourself to be a sinner and that you believe that you have to earn your salvation, that you have to do something specific to recover your divine birthright, what you really have done in that belief that you're a sinner or that you're separate from your source, you've created and transformed in your own mind a God of unconditional love into a God that is someone to fear, that you don't want to meet in a dark alley, because that God is going to extract this pound of flesh, preferably not from your heart, but somewhere from you, and that there has to be some retribution. And we've transformed God into a God of judgment and fear. And that's not somebody that you can actually be that comfortable with, because you're always looking over your shoulder. And that's your misperception of the truth of what you really are. So in salvation, what we're really doing is we're healing our own mind's misbelief, first, of what we are, a sinner, and with that realization that we remain as God's treasure, we now realize that our Creator is someone that loves us unconditionally. And actually, when you are totally accepted for what you are, and you've been created perfect, whole, and complete, got a lot of things to be grateful for. And it's a natural result that you will tend to want to reciprocate that love. So the first lesson was, Father, I will but to remember you. And whenever they say will, they're really not talking about future. They're talking about I, in my mind, as a decision maker, will that I remember you, the truth that you are unconditional love. And what it said, the prayer was, what I what can I seek for, Father, but your love? Perhaps I think I seek for something else other than your love. It, let's see, uh, a something that I have called by many egoic names. I thought perhaps that I seek wealth, fame, fortune, good health, prestige, fame, sex, all these things of this world. I thought that's where I would find my happiness. Yet is your love the only thing I seek or ever sought? Because what you really seek is total acceptance, the ability to be free or imagine whatever you want without any thought of recrimination, retribution, judgment, just someone that will accept you just the way you are, warts and all. And that's what this God of unconditional love does. The idea that you are the prodigal son, the prodigal child that has left, that wanted their inheritance, wanted to be the creator of their own world, be their own person. God, your sole creator, gave you that right and said, go ahead, child. If you want your inheritance, it's yours. It's always been yours. You're totally free to use it, spend it any way you want. And we, as individuated aspects of consciousness, come here in this dimension of time and space, in the world of perception, to practice what we truly are, which is unconditional love. And on this game board, we get to experience it. And what's so great and so all knowing, all powerful, which is what, some of the terms that we use when they talk about what God is that God has guaranteed that we cannot lose our divine birthright. We cannot do anything that could cause us to somehow in reality change our DNA into the stripes of a sinner. We could pretend we were a sinner, but this God of unconditional love always held the truth that you are his treasure, perfect, whole, and complete. You are his joy, her happiness, her fulfillment. That is what you are. And this soul parent has placed within you a guide, a higher self to help you gently reawaken from the nightmare that you misperceived and actually bought into the idea that this play school had some ability to change the truth of what you really are. For there, going on with that first lesson, for there is nothing else that I could ever want to find but your love, that total acceptance that asks me to let me remember you, my sole creator, my source. What else could I desire but the truth about myself? Let me know the truth and remember that you have created me perfect, whole, and complete, and that I no longer and have never been bound by my misperceptions of my own unforgiving mind that wanted to hold and suspend or not allow you to be free from your misperceptions, to engage in blame, shame, guilt, fear, fear of others, of yourself, blame of others and yourself, blame of God. For in our own egoic mind, we misperceive, we misunderstood what we truly are, and believing that we were flawed, created not perfect, not all powerful, always part of that one self. We misperceived, and now we ask for the truth, the remembrance of what you truly are. This lesson of today is be in my mind, my Father, throughout the day. God is truth. There is only truth, and truth is that you are created perfect, whole, and complete. And what this asks is that truth be in my mind throughout the day. For God is only truth and knows the truth that you remain his beloved child, his treasure. You need do nothing to earn that love, for God's love is unconditional. It flows around and through you and from you. The truth is that nothing can stop the love of God, the love of total acceptance and appreciation for your being. God loves you and honors you and realizes you are its treasure. Be in my mind, my Father, when I wake, and shine on me throughout the day today. Let every minute be a time in which I dwell in you. Let me remember that truth. Let me not forget my hourly thanking that you have reminded or remained with me, and the Holy Spirit that you've placed within me will always be there to hear my call to you, and the Holy Spirit, your voice, will answer. As evening comes, let all my thoughts be still of you. Let you always be in my mind and of your love. And let me sleep sure in my safety, certain of your care, and happily aware I am your beloved child. Even in time and space, we can sleep. That's what we are when we don't realize the truth about ourselves. Our mind is asleep. We still remain protected. Your spiritual DNA remains as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. So let's take a moment to bathe in that truth. I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. Nothing sources my experience but me, and nothing can cause me to lose my own inner peace unless I choose to allow it. And today, as decision maker, I remember my source. I remember my relationship with God, a God of total acceptance. I breathe in the love of God, and I accept the truth of what I am. I am God's beloved treasure. God, first cause, I effect, two sides of one inseparable coin. In time and space, I misunderstood the truth of what I am. My illusion, my adventure into a world of seeming hate and fear can be over whenever I choose to allow it and accept the truth of what I am. Father, what am I? And as you ask that question, look up, hear the voice for of your higher self, the voice for God, the Holy Spirit, the voice that tells the truth. You are my beloved child, with whom I am well pleased. Feel that love pouring down upon. Let it be like cleansing water, removing any thoughts that you could be not perfect, not whole, or incomplete. Let it wash as it showers, God's love showers down upon. Let it wash off all your beliefs that your unforgiving mind had held about yourself, God, and your world. And as that total acceptance of God's love, of that non-judgmental truth that you are God's treasure, see the crap, the misperceptions that you held about yourself, that you could be a victim of outside forces beyond your control, that you could have needs or wants. See those unforgiving thoughts being washed away and see your light, the truth of what you are, shining forth, no longer blocked by your misperceptions of an unforgiving mind. We forgive ourselves and we remember the truth of what we truly are. And we're grateful that our misperceptions, our illusions, that we could be something other than as God created us, are washed away. We now remember the truth of what we are. The only relationship of consequence, even in this dimension of time and space and the world of our beliefs, is our relationship with God, our source, the depth of the ocean. Today, as decision makers, we remove all the blocks that our unforgiving mind has placed in front of the realization that our soul parent, our soul creator, is unconditional love, and you are his treasure, its treasure, her treasure. You are light. Today, be in my mind the truth, my Father, throughout that day. And today, let your light shine upon your world and be like Jesus, who said, if you want to be like me, knowing that we are the same, we are God's treasure, perfect, whole, and complete, the effect of a God of unconditional love. If you want to be like me, knowing that we are the same, I will help you. If you want to be different, I won't judge you. I'll just wait until you reawaken to the truth and you decide to choose different. Today, we forgive our world, our sisters, our brothers, our society for all its misbeliefs about what it is. We let them play their role on their own perfect path of reawakening. And today, as Jesus does, we'll hold the truth of what they really are. They are God's beloved child with whom she is well pleased. Today, as decision maker, hold that truth and remember God, your source, will be with you throughout your day. Create a great day for yourself and your world. Namaste. The God in me recognizes the God in you.
That was beautiful, Tom. I want to kind of add something to the vision that you've given us. And it's something that I've worked on in a way most of my life in terms of my understanding, my spiritual involvement in my life and others. And it's the idea of remembering, first of all, that we are a spirit and that we're not even in our body. We are hovering over this body, kind of like a marionette puppet. And sometimes we give the strings over to somebody else, or let's just say the alter ego or the ego, to run the body instead of um, being what's there and animating it more like a glove. And I want to get away from that picture for a minute because I want to expand the picture. If we look at it as this spiritual awareness of ideas, let's say, then we can, in a sense, grow ourselves from being a unit, a person, a specific part of God or the group we're in, into an environment. And we have an impact if we can look at ourselves as an environment that's going on in our minds. What does that mean? For example, if I want you, who are standing 20 feet away, to come to me, there's different ways to do it. I could lasso you and pull you towards me. And I could do any number of other things. You don't need any more examples than that. Or I could tilt the environment, meaning create a ramp, so that you would slide towards me. Now that's an environment. And the more we accept our bigness and allow our smallness to go away, the more we expand our ability to be closer to an environment where, if we have and want to show love, we're creating love in an environment. We're creating an acceptance in an environment. That means everybody here, everybody in my environment can feel love, not just something I give to one other person. Well, how do you do that? And what does that mean here? It means in this lesson, when it says, be in my mind, my Father, through the day, well, in a way, that statement, if you don't understand your mind as being a lot more than just a person that we tend to normally identify with, then we're inviting ourselves as a bigger mind, as a field, for our Father to animate that field, to bring the love into a bigger awareness of what's going on, instead of our own little 40 acres or whatever, or acre, or in case of my duplex that I live in, it's an eighth of an acre. What I do with my mind is to expand it. And all of these thoughts that we're talking about, as we expand our awareness of our environment and expand our awareness that we are not only part of the environment, but we can become the environment to create a better space for other people as well as ourselves, then we enlarge our ability to become more like the Father. And that's what I'm getting at here, because we're more than halfway through the lessons. We're supposed to be on our way to becoming one with God. And if we think of ourselves continuously as a speck of, or a grain of sand, then we're not moving in the direction that we could by expanding the possibility of thinking of ourselves more like a field. Everybody knows the name Deepak Chopra. It's hard to, you know, miss it because it's so unusual in the English language anyway. He very early picked up on A Course in Miracles, He has his own philosophy, which is drenched in Indian philosophy. However, it's so close that what he says does help us to see this bigger field, this bigger sense of ourselves, and not just remain a speck, which is loved by an amazing Father, but it gets us thinking more like moving in that direction. Now, he has a phrase, a statement that I heard many years ago, and I think he was quoting Rumi. He probably was, because that's one of his favorites. And he talks about a field. He says, there is a field, and I will meet you there as you continue to transform. That is his statement. That is what Rumi says to him and what he goes with. Then we Americans here on the ground, we're thinking about a movie that we saw about a field, a ball field. Build it and they will come. Who's they? What is that? What are we going to do here? Well, we're going to build a field. We're going to build out ourselves as a field that can encompass more love, that can encompass more beneficence for other people, that can encompass more um, awareness of other people instead of just ourselves, which would be total ego focus, right? So as we become bigger in our minds, that we can't just stay in a closet and become loving people. We have to we have to experience it in that bigger way so that we can help other people become more like God, which means become more one, bigger, approaching that oneness eventually. Otherwise, this is all just talk. So what do? We we embrace what it says here. Be in my mind, my Father, through the day. To me, that says, let's get bigger together. And that can be misunderstood by a compulsive overeater. I guarantee you. Eat more food and I'm happy for a while. Well, that doesn't last very long. But the spiritual content of the universe, of the world, of this field that we are all on, if we try to move to become the field, it's a field of love. And that means anybody on that field is going to be loving. Anybody on that field is going to be happy. Anybody on that field is not going to have to take a shot to make sure they don't get COVID or some virus or something. And that was especially for Adriana, who took a shot yesterday in her arm and still remembers it physically. So we want to get a bigger view of our own potential. And this is a turning point. It's a turning point because we are now trying to move into a point where we become heaven. What is God? Most people think of God as a person, and in the really older traditions, this God could be very petulant, he could be very angry, he could be very judgmental, and so on. But eventually, it's more like the heaven, the whole field of God's field. And so that's what I wanted to do to help us all get a
I
bigger
want to
picture.
jump in. I want to jump in
Okay,
to
I'm
grab
going to
your
let you
words
jump
and stuff.
in.
Oh my
I
God,
just
I'm
Go ahead,
really happy to hear you. I'm
go for it.
so glad to hear you. And it's funny because everything is, I'm amazed how it's omnipresent. The analogy of what we have been doing with our ego and then realizing that God has always been there, not with words, but he has been always there in symbols. And the analogy is all over the place. Look, for example, I am really joyful today because I honestly experiencing these lessons, and I cannot have more words to say it that it is true. I entered this world of A Course in Miracles after a huge disappointment with my own perception of my reality about the love that I was experiencing, and I was done with it. I was super desperate. And once I just quit the idea that I could fix it and I put my mind into something higher and talk to that higher thing that I didn't see or taste or anything, things started to happen one by another. First, to realize that my father wasn't dead, actually, that he has been always with me because he's not outside, it's inside. He has always been with me. And then I found A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles was like really like the first huge revelation that started to reverse my mind. And my way to experience the lessons and go deeper in my process then came from other men that wrote books, like, for example, Gary Renard and Wapnick. And then I found you in this room, you, Bob, another father. So I entered to this room and I was super thrilled to see the dynamics between a father and a son. And then I wanted to be part of it. It's all a symphony, an analogy. Every single thing that happens in life is an analogy that God has always been there with you, but it's not with words, and you will not see it with your mind. So it's beautiful because then when you realize it, it, it is like the book says. You only need a little bit of willingness to start to ignite that spark, and the spark will not go away because will never be off. It can't be off. So when I joined you in the room and I started to just be committed to wake up every morning with this, I found my way out of my misery. And and as I was doing that, I was encountering more fears, and like, oh my God! But keeping your insistence and your determination to go deeper within you, against yourself, in fact, to find the true self will always bring you joy no matter what. Today, I mean, this week has been really beautiful because it's the transition between the first part of the book, like Tom said, and the second part of the book, and he's summarizing. I don't know if I said that right, but the way he explained summarized the two parts of the book, it's like that. I mean, Tom has this book as his, I don't know, his blood in his body, so he knows this so good because I have experienced that. I have experienced the first part of the lessons as a huge forgiveness process, as a huge understanding that my brain needed to be retrained from guilt bullshit or belief systems that, if you take the two words, it's kind of the same, BS. So retraining our brains from that guilt bullshit to innocence, that it's the iOS. It's the operating system that in this world, the iOS platform and the Macs and all those things are the most like advanced and most beautiful operating system right now, and the most expensive one as well. It's funny because everything is an analogy. So the first part is that huge forgiveness. You have to go deeper in the forgiveness process. You have to start with little things like, this chair is not here, this whatever is not here. Then your daughter, in my case, your daughter is not here. Oh my God, how is that? That my daughter is not here. And you have to go through it and go through it and see that not even your body is actually real. So you go deeper, 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 and you start to really reframe words, concepts. I can easily write a new dictionary for myself from all that first part of the book. And then you go to the second part, that it's, as Tom said, world of perception, is that dimension that you are understanding that will color your world. The light is one single light, white light. And to get a rainbow, you need a crystal to break that down in some form. So you are the crystal, you are the Christ, that it's taking the single light and expanding it in some form to experience it in a dissected mode, but it will not be able to do that if there wasn't a source. So you are the Christ, that it's like that it's forming a rainbow in your mind. So you need to understand that the second part of this entire book, it is the salvation, but not because the salvation will come from your rainbow, but because you have never been away from that source, that there is that it's a one single light, and that is a fact. And as that is a fact, you are innocent, like the Christ. The Christ, if you find the etymology of these words, you will see that everything is connected. Christ, innocence, heaven, all the things that represent the highest concepts of peace, love, or whatever are empty, clear, don't have judgment, don't have division on it, only can refract the single light, only can take something and take something out. Being crystal clear and having a sixth sense, it's just relying to be clear about the emptiness that it is yourself, because emptiness is the only thing that it's in this world, omnipresent in every single thing that you think you see with your eyes. If you dissect everything, you will find empty space. If you go out of space with a telescope or in a spaceship, you will find empty space. Everything is an analogy. So the second part of this means that you're innocent, and therefore you're in communion with everything. All that Tom said before Bob, and then Bob restated it, is that we need to be, if we are deeply understanding these lessons, we can allow ourselves be in communion with everything around us. No, it doesn't matter if you don't see it like you, but it is yourself. So there's this saying in Spanish, a donde fuera que fueres, haz lo que vieres. And I got in my mind that, and I went and searched something, and it comes from a saying that was in the beginning of the Catholic Church, or the Christianism or something. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, and that is because if you're in the woods, be the tree. What is a tree? So engage with those concepts. If you're in the water, be the water. If you are among men, if you're seeing men, male, gender male, if you are a woman and you are in front of men, be the mother of those men. But be the mother is because the mother can only love their child, so be the mother of those men. If you are a male and you're in between women, be the father of those female, instead of trying to, I don't know, to have sex with them. Be the father of them. Teach love, give them love. So if you are among men and you're a woman, be the mother. If you're between women and you're a male, be the father. If you are between children, in between children, with children, be the son of God. Be the son of God. Play with them. Be one of them. The children can only play, joy, laugh, give you love. Be the child. If you are alone and you are feeling alone in this world, be the spirit. There's no way out. Be the spirit. If you're feeling lonely, helpless, whatever, be spirit. Dismiss everything in the level of the form. Be the spirit and call the spirit out in order for you to see that everything around you is God. So you have never been alone. And the mind that serves the spirit is invulnerable. I went to search the word communion in the book, in the text part of the book, and it's amazing because it makes sense. The communion word comes in the chapter, The Meaning of Miracles, in the section, The Escape from Darkness. And it says this: the escape from darkness involves two stages, like Tom was saying. First, the recognition that darkness cannot hide. This step usually entails fear. Second, the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. Be crystal clear. This step, that crystal clear doesn't come from the book, I just added. This step brings escape from fear. When you have become willing to hide nothing, you will not only be willing to enter into communion, but will also understand peace and joy. You don't reject anything. Two, that rejection part I added. It says next, holiness can never be really hidden in darkness. I'm sorry for the cuckoo, yeah, I'm cuckoo. Holiness can never be really hidden in darkness, but you can deceive yourself about it. If you're still making differences between light and dark and emptiness and wholeness, it's just something that needs to be forgiven there. Holiness can never be really hidden in darkness, but you can deceive yourself about it. This deception makes you fearful because you realize in your heart that is a deception in your heart. Take that part, your heart, and you exert enormous efforts to establish its reality. The miracle sets reality where it belongs. Reality belongs only to spirit, and the miracle acknowledges only truth. It thus dispels illusion about yourself and puts you in communion with yourself and God. The miracle joins in the atonement by placing the mind in the service of the Holy Spirit. This establishes the proper function of the mind and corrects its errors, which are merely lacks of love. Your mind can be possessed by illusion, but spirit is eternally free. If a mind, Bob, I'm going to close your mic because I'm having feedback, which are merely lacks of love. Your mind can be possessed. I'm going to close your mic. Sorry, I'm going to
I
finish
did.
real soon. Ah, don't worry. Don't worry. It's just that it came back again open. That's because he opened it. Yeah, your mind can be possessed by illusion, but spirit is eternally free. If a mind perceives without love, it perceives an empty shell and is unaware of the spirit within. The atonement restores the spirit to its proper place. The mind that serves the spirit is invulnerable. So I wanted to share this because now that I understand that I have really, really, really have my life at this service of understanding this Course in Miracles, I have experienced that very same thing. My mind is really changing and reframing everything now. I can't avoid the truth. Everything that I see during my days is an analogy of the symphony of God or the symphony of the ego. And whatever way it is, it's fine because my mind now understands that only emptiness is here and I'm not afraid of anything anymore in that sense because I don't identify myself anymore in my heart as a person. I am only spirit, and that can only be felt in the heart. If I said that correctly, it doesn't come from the mind. You have to in some form reframe your mind to give yourself time and space to go with your awareness to the heart, and in the heart there's no words, only love. There's no labels, there's no rejections, there's no resistance. If you feel resistance, is the heart telling you you are running away from yourself. Don't run, don't run. That is the fearful thing. So um, in the level of the form, we experience accidents and we experience fearful things that we don't even know that we have been creating in some form, and that we do have a partial responsibility with everything that is happening in this world. So when in fear, instead of running away and closing your eyes and rejecting those things, feel the fear. Not put yourself in more trouble, of course, but feel the fear and don't run away. Give love, give love, give love. That is all that the heart is saying in some form. So if you're in fear in some form, Try to find ways to give love, because giving is receiving, and it always works, and it always works. So being in communion with all of what you are, it's using as well the fear to give love. That's what the spirit is in between us, guiding us to do. So every single challenge that we have in this life is for us to be forced to be what we are already, that it's pure love. You don't get to give money. So for somebody that it's asking a coin in the street, don't give money. You don't have to. But trust that that person is yourself. So how are you going to respond to that request? With a ugly face saying, no, 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 go away from here? Or you're going to say, you know what, if I could, I will give you something, but I don't have. I hope you find your way to have your needs met today, and you'll see the magic in that.
That is
You're
beautiful,
being
Adriana.
threatened. You're being threatened by somebody, male or female or whatever, or you're being mocked. You will feel fear, of course. Try to find yourself in a in a safe place. But when you see that kind of situation, just forgive them, because they don't know what they are doing. We have never been in knowledge of what we have been doing unless we go into any spiritual path that expands more spirit between us. So we are here, we are all gathered here doing this beautiful lesson. Be in my mind, my Father, throughout the day. Be in my mind, because that is the only way that I can feel my heart, where everything is clear, where everything is just expansion of love. So, Father, be in my mind in order for the Spirit come to me and let me feel my heart instead of all the illusions in my mind. Be in communion with everything. I'm super thrilled because I am able to retell, or well, to retell everything that Bob and Tom has said, but from my own like step by step process in this, that I don't know where it's gonna end. I have no idea.
I know where it's going to end.
but but right now it feels true. It feels undeniable.
It is true. It is true. And you did a great job relating it back. And part of the problem is that these revelations are personally. Every time we go through this, it gets us so excited and we can't wait to share. And when we share, it seems to fall flat when we look at the reactions of those around us. Only if you've already had some spiritual awakenings do you get a sense of how disappointing it can be that you can't share these revelations that work for your ego. But your perspective, your ego is yours. And if you can make your way to revelations, then you can see them in everybody else, and all of a sudden you'll see them everywhere. We see these truths everywhere because they are. Every human story that gets told has a similar kind of pattern that it follows. The hero's journey, right? The guy goes off to war and something changes while he's gone. And he comes back and he's changed. And that's either a good change or a bad change. If it's a bad change, we got more story. If it's a good change, the story's generally over. He comes back, he's a great guy, lives happily ever after. The
Lee,
stories are the things that are important for us to share, and that's why we show up here in the morning. Yes, Father. What do
it,
you have to say?
I just, I'm just amazed at I don't know how you can package what Adriana said, but it's Adriana, and what you said in the very beginning, which not everybody necessarily here heard, was that this is exactly this beginning of the 7 years ago, that tonight, a year ago, well, 7 years ago, you were placed in jail, and the next morning the jail door was opened so you could come out and be free. And what I'm trying to say here is we can focus on the fact that you went into jail and you were there for 7 years, or focus that you're now out of jail. And that's the next morning. And that change in perception is a really good example. Are we going to bemoan the fact that we went to jail that night and repeat it for 7 years? Or are we going to work to get the hell out, and literally and figuratively, and get to heaven? And now that we're out of jail, we can expand. Can't expand very much when you're in jail. And it's probably in the best interest of you and everybody else. Once we're out of jail, which we now understand as we read these lessons, we have the chance to expand. It is very hard for a lot of people, including a banker that I spoke to yesterday, to understand how in the world could I, a one-man architectural office, all of a sudden be working on redesigning a country in Africa. What's it got to do with me? Well, it has everything to do with me because I have a bigger picture of what this is all about. If it's just about my ego, I'm going to be just like him, and that's it. There's more to life. It's why we come here to these meetings. It's why we read this book, because this book is the way we expand our awareness of this wonderful world that we have in front of us and in which we are involved daily if we want to. And it says, every hour this day, I dwell in you, God. That's the prayer. Let every minute be a time in which I dwell with you. So we can be teeny tiny in our little ego, or we can expand and be with God and therefore loving.
Don't be a bottom dweller.
And I am complete with that. Thank you, Lee.
No problem. And everybody else is welcome to share. I'm going to wrap up the stream so we can move on with that part of the day. But everybody's welcome to come up and share and be a part of this. We do come here every morning just to read this book. And we do that because we've seen it work in our lives. And if you've got any questions about that, look back at the last 400 days that we've been here. Dad found his daughter that he's wanted to find for his whole life. He got sick of just having one son. He needed another one. So 50 years old, he finally finds his daughter. I finally am not an only child, and I've got a sister. And then I find the love of my life, who absolutely won't accept being the love of my life because she knows we're one. And that to be the love of my life, I have to love God like I love her. What a great lesson in taking this world duality and choosing to see the singularity, choosing to see the thing that will release us from these egoic relationships we've been stuck in our whole life. I'm here to be the higher me. And that's what I'm going to do today. I am complete.
I see you a little bit taller today. That's why, right? Oh my
Eat
God,
the breakfast I
David.
made you.
Shut up.
All right, I'm going to wrap this stream up, and everybody's welcome to come up and talk if they wish. I'll go do a quick round of inviting. Come if you want. If you can't talk, no big deal. But thank you for joining us. We're here every single morning, and we're getting better and better every day. It's getting more and more fun every day. I'm glad you're here today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you just saying that to us. You really that late.
Miss Rosa, you're the one, you're the prize being here. I'm going to come find you. You're going to teach me how to weld.